Hello, Messingers here. I've just finished yet another coaching session with a client, and he asked a question that lots and lots of both coaching clients, but also others ask me. And that is fundamentally, what are the primary traits of a good leader? Now, my view on it is fundamentally pretty straightforward. I believe that anyone can learn to become a good leader, just like most skills. Leadership is something you can develop, right? And the ability to manage other people is something you can develop. When you look at it, there's certain traits that in most organizations tend to come up to the top as things that you see in majority of leaders, right? So in most businesses, particularly in bigger corporations, you will generally see people who are more assertive raised to the ranks faster. Now, that doesn't mean others can't, but typically in most organizations, those are the people that you'll see grow the most. And for a lot of people, when you look around individuals and you think, who is a natural leader? For a lot of people, they tend to look at people who are assertive, people who naturally take charge, and people who just, naturally assume a position of leadership. Now, every single personality have certain strengths and weaknesses, right? And even people who are naturally assertive and naturally take charge have similar challenges to other people. They have other challenges that other people might not have, right? So fundamentally, from my point of view, everyone, whatever type of personality is, you have certain strengths and weaknesses, and they can make you a good and a bad leader either way, right? So whatever type of leader you are, whatever your sort of primary traits are, none of those necessarily determines if you will be a good leader or not. What really determines it is one, your dedication to learn and grow, and two, the actual leadership and management training you get, right? One of the key things, and one of the ways where you see a lot of people burn themselves as new leaders, particularly if they are very assertive and very aggressive, is they end up getting a lot of enemies. And you can push people around, and you can be assertive to people around you, and you can really push to achieve your goals. But sometimes good leadership is really about creating a great culture around you of people who support you, right? So sometimes if you end up with a lot of enemies, both within your company and outside it becomes very, very difficult to lead and get great results, right? Fundamentally, I'm a big believer in that most teams and most companies need variety. So it's not great always to have the same kind of leader in various teams. It's very often good with some rotation. So when I hire managers within my business, I often look at what does this team need at this point in time. So there's not always like a default type of manager that's just great for certain situations, right? So some managers are great when having to go in and do a turnaround, right? So for example, people who are very assertive and naturally quite aggressive. If you have a team that, over a longer period of time have just kind of gone downhill in their performance and you really need a turnaround, you often need someone in that's quite aggressive and quite assertive, not afraid to really change things and not afraid to push people around. Now, typically, when you have had someone very aggressive in a role for a period of time, people have often been exhausted. They often feel like they haven't been listened to, and that they often get stressed out and so on. And often in those cases, you want a different type of leader in afterwards, right? So the fundamental for me, though, is there's not a primary trait that makes you a good leader. I think it's much more about personality and values. So, for example, do you talk the truth? Do you respect people around you? Are you able to communicate effectively? And that is more skills than anything. And again, those things are also things you can develop, right? I think probably the single most important leadership and management trait is the ability to communicate effectively. And I recommend all people, all leaders, everyone that want to be in a leadership or management position to generally develop their communication skills.